Frank Fritz wasn't just a collector. He was a storyteller, a treasure hunter, and a beloved personality who turned American Pickers into a television phenomenon. But behind the laughter and the antiques was a deeper story, one filled with triumphs, struggles, and a shocking final chapter that few saw coming. The recent news of Frank Fritz's death left fans and collectors stunned. His journey, from a small-town kid with a passion for collecting to a household name, was anything but ordinary. To understand who he truly was, we need to go back to where it all began. Born on October 11, 1963, in Davenport, Iowa, Frank showed an early fascination with objects that held history. While other kids played with toys or joined sports teams, Frank was already scouring for treasures, coins, stamps, beer cans, even old razor blades. Where others saw junk, he saw stories. The dusty shelves, the ticking clocks, and faded photographs of antique shops felt like home to him. He wasn't just collecting, he was connecting to the past. As he grew older, his interests expanded. He began hunting for motorcycles, dirt bikes, and rare memorabilia, spending endless hours at flea markets and garage sales. But he didn't go straight into antiques as a career. After high school, he spent nearly 25 years working as a fire inspector in Iowa. It was a serious, detail-oriented job, but one that surprisingly fed into his passion. As a fire inspector, Frank got access to old buildings and firehouses, places filled with forgotten treasures. He began collecting antique firefighting gear, from helmets to extinguishers, and realized his hobby could become a business. Eventually, Frank took a leap of faith. He left his stable job and opened his own shop, Frank's Finds, specializing in firemen's memorabilia and unique collectibles. This move set the stage for something far bigger. Enter the world of reality TV. While Frank was content running his shop, his old acquaintance Mike Wolfe had a grander vision. The two had met back in middle school in Bondurant, Iowa. Though not close at the time, they later bonded over their shared passion for antiques. Mike had started filming his picking adventures and pitching the idea to networks. After some convincing, Frank agreed to come along, and in 2010, American Pickers premiered on the History Channel. The show quickly became a fan favorite. Its appeal lay not just in the hidden treasures but in the chemistry between Mike and Frank. Mike was the fast-talking negotiator, while Frank brought humor, warmth, and authenticity. He had a unique ability to connect with the everyday people they met, turning awkward interactions into heartwarming moments. Frank didn't just pick antiques, he built relationships, and that's why viewers loved him. For over a decade, American Pickers thrived, with Frank and Mike traversing the country in search of rusty gold. With Danielle Colby managing things from the office, the trio created television magic. But behind the scenes, things weren't always as harmonious. In 2020, fans noticed Frank was missing from new episodes. At first, there was little explanation, but it was later revealed that he had undergone major back surgery, requiring 185 stitches and the insertion of 2 rods into his spine. On top of that, he was dealing with personal struggles, including addiction. Despite initial hopes of a return, it never happened. In 2021, Mike announced Frank's official departure from the show. The statement was polite, but Frank saw through it. In a blunt interview, he called Mike's words BS, revealing that Mike never once checked on him during his recovery. Frank claimed their friendship had never been as close as fans believed. They worked well on camera, but off-screen was a different story. He alleged that Mike had wanted him gone for a long time, and when the chance came, he took it. It was a heartbreaking ending to a partnership many thought was unshakable. Frank Fritz's story is more than just a tale of antiques. It's one of passion, resilience, betrayal, and legacy. And what was found in his estate after his death? That's a mystery that might leave the world speechless. Fans were heartbroken by the collapse of Frank Fritz and Mike Wolfe's partnership. How could two men who had traveled the country together, laughed together, and built something so special just fall apart? Despite how things ended, there was no denying that Frank was one of the key reasons American Pickers became such a massive success. He wasn't just another reality TV personality, he was real. His excitement over a rare toy, his hilarious one-liners, and his ability to turn even the dullest pick into a fun adventure made him a standout. Even after his exit, fans continued to support him, many hoping for a return or, at the very least, some reconciliation with Mike. Sadly, that reunion never came. Yet Frank's impact endured. He proved that passion and personality could transform a simple hobby into something truly extraordinary. Whether he was laughing over an old motorcycle or uncovering a vintage sign in a dusty barn, Frank brought magic to the screen. Beyond his television fame, Frank built a quiet empire in the world of antiques. Many people don't realize just how much he accomplished off-screen. He was a businessman, an expert, and a lifelong collector. As the antique market evolved with the rise of online platforms, Frank adapted. He expanded his business to digital marketplaces, selling collectibles to buyers across the globe and maintaining a strong online presence. One of his greatest passions was motorcycles, a love that began as a teenager with the purchase of a 1964 Harley-Davidson. That bike set the tone for a lifelong obsession. Over the years, Frank amassed a collection of rare and vintage motorcycles, proudly filling an entire barn with his two-wheeled treasures. But Frank didn't keep that passion to himself. In 2013, he authored How to Pick Vintage Motorcycles, a guide that helped collectors find, buy, and maintain classic bikes. He even included a section on toy motorcycles, showing just how deeply rooted his love for the hobby was. His expertise and first-hand experience made the book a valuable resource for both beginners and seasoned collectors. Frank also co-authored American Picker's Guide to Picking, offering fans an inside look at the show and the art of treasure hunting. He frequently partnered with fellow collectors to host antique fairs and exhibitions, always eager to share his knowledge and passion with others. What made Frank truly special wasn't just his deep knowledge, it was the way he made antiques exciting. Whether he was explaining the history of a gas pump or a toy from the 1950s, he had a gift for bringing the past to life. For Frank, collecting wasn't about possessions, it was about storytelling, about preserving pieces of history and connecting them to people. Yet behind the cheerful smile that fans loved, Frank battled personal struggles. Though he came across as fun-loving and energetic on screen, life off-camera wasn't always so bright. For years, viewers noticed his fluctuating weight and expressed concern. Eventually, Frank revealed he had Crohn's disease, a painful and incurable condition that affects the digestive system. He lost over 65 pounds managing the illness through a strict diet. But Crohn's is more than a physical battle. It's an emotional one, marked by unpredictability, fatigue, and isolation. Still, Frank didn't let it stop him. He kept doing what he loved, pushing forward despite the pain. Fame, too, brought unexpected pressure. Suddenly, Frank was a celebrity. Everywhere he went, people recognized him and expected him to be the same cheerful guy from TV. But the spotlight can weigh heavily, and Frank struggled with anxiety. In a rare moment of honesty, he admitted that the constant attention made him nervous. To cope, he was prescribed Xanax. Unfortunately, this led to a major turning point in his life. In 2017, Frank was pulled over after driving the wrong way on an Iowa highway. He admitted to drinking and taking Xanax before getting behind the wheel. Though it was his first offense, he was charged with operating while intoxicated and had to attend substance education courses. It was a serious mistake, one that followed him for years. That same year, his personal life unraveled. Frank had gotten engaged to Diane Bankson, the woman he believed he would marry. He bought a house, a ring, and dreamed of a future together. But those dreams were shattered when Diane accused him of cheating, claiming she caught him with another woman at their farmhouse. Frank, however, told a different story. He alleged Diane had been unfaithful, carrying on an affair for 2 years. Heartbroken, he even got a tattoo that read, "Once a cheater, always a cheater," as a painful reminder. Their bitter breakup turned public when Diane filed a lawsuit against Frank, accusing him of negligence, though the case was later dismissed. By then, Frank was emotionally drained. His relationship was over, his name tarnished, and his struggles had become tabloid fodder. In the aftermath, Frank turned to alcohol to cope. He admitted that drinking had become a growing problem, compounding the pain he already carried. And while the cameras had long since stopped rolling, the man who brought so much joy to millions was quietly fighting battles that few truly understood. Frank Fritz's battle with addiction reached a turning point when he realized just how much it was affecting his health and life. Having grown up watching both his mother and grandfather struggle with alcoholism, battles that ultimately led to their deaths, Frank knew he was heading down a dangerous path. He didn't want to repeat the cycle. In a bold and life-changing decision, he checked himself into a 77-day rehab program in Iowa. Later, he would admit that he didn't even like drinking anymore. He simply wanted to get healthy and regain control of his life. He was determined to break free from the shadow of his family's past and build a better future. Then came the final, most devastating chapter in Frank's life. In July 2022, he suffered a massive stroke at his home in Davenport, Iowa. Found unresponsive, he was rushed to the hospital as fans around the world waited anxiously for updates. After nearly a month, Frank was transferred to a rehabilitation center, where he began a slow and grueling recovery process. But this wasn't just a temporary medical setback. This stroke changed everything. It affected his ability to walk, speak, and care for himself. A court-appointed guardian was brought in to manage his daily life, and a bank assumed control of his finances. The man who once cruised across America searching for forgotten treasures was now confined, dependent, and fighting for even the smallest victories. His medical care reportedly cost $29,000 a month, underscoring the immense toll his condition had taken. Despite the years of tension between Frank and his American Pickers co-star Mike Wolfe, the stroke brought a change of heart. The old grudges no longer mattered. Mike reached out, visited Frank during his recovery, and reconnected with the man who had been his friend and partner for decades. In time, they shared laughs, memories, and forgiveness. By September 2024, Frank's health had taken a sharp decline. His body, worn down from years of illness and hardship, could no longer keep up the fight. When Mike got the call that Frank didn't have much time left, he dropped everything and rushed to his side. Frank's mother and a close friend were also there. It was a quiet, intimate goodbye. Mike later shared that he held Frank's hand as he took his last breath, whispering that he loved him, forgave him, and that everything would be okay. In his final moments, he told Frank, "Go find your mom." And then, Frank was gone. According to his death certificate, Frank died from late sequelae of cerebral infarction, complications resulting from his stroke. He also suffered from aortic stenosis, a heart condition that restricts blood flow and made even simple tasks like breathing and standing exhausting. His body, after years of fighting, had finally given out. But Frank's story doesn't end there. One of the most surprising developments after his death involved his beloved motorcycle collection. Though he had always been known for his love of antiques, motorcycles were Frank's deepest passion. From a young age, he was fascinated by the beauty, mechanics, and history of classic bikes. Friends and fellow collectors had long speculated about the size of his personal stash, but no one truly knew, until they opened the doors to his private garage. What they found stunned even the most seasoned collectors: row upon row of vintage motorcycles, some gleaming and fully restored, others covered in dust or awaiting repair. Indian motorcycles, classic Harleys, choppers, and rare models filled the space, a true paradise for any enthusiast. It wasn't just a collection. It was a lifetime's work. For fans, the thought of these bikes being sold off seemed almost sacrilegious. They weren't just machines, they were pieces of Frank himself. They were the bikes he had hunted across the country, lovingly restored, and proudly displayed. But, according to sources close to him, an auction is already being planned to sell off the entire collection. Every motorcycle, every sign, every piece of carefully preserved history. And here's the most shocking twist: the proceeds won't go to a private estate or business interest. Instead, they will be donated to charity. In one final act of generosity, Frank ensured that even in death, he would continue to give back and share his passion with the world. When Tucker Carlson learned of this, he was visibly stunned. "This man was just here," he said, "and now his legacy is being spread across the world, piece by piece, like a final chapter he never got to write himself." It's a poignant and powerful ending to the story of a man who turned his love of the past into a life's mission. If you could own any bike from Frank Fritz's remarkable collection, which one would you choose, and why? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that celebrate the legends who lived life on their own terms.